Just make sure you're smiling when we go live.
We are live. We're going to talk about these SBA loans. We have three incredible people who have been all over this to talk about this. I'm going to have you introduce yourselves. We'll start with you, Andrew, then just work our way around. Just explain, who you are, what company you're from, and then we'll dig into this thing.
Thank you very much, Clint. It is a pleasure to be able to join today's call or webinar. Andrew Redpath's my name. Most of you won't recognize me because it's the first time in a year and a half that I've actually shaved my beard. It happened today, so it's a first. I am co-founder and COO at Kiln. We are the co-working community for early stage tech companies here in Utah. So most of you hear from Arian Lewis, who's my business partner, but I am the second of three wheels in that partnership group. Over to you, Dave.
Yeah, so Dave Wilson from Proven CFO, partner over here, co-founder, and we're just the CFO company that is also taking on clients for lending. We've been doing a lot of lending over our careers and had just really been focused on doing lending and debt restructure for existing clients. But that's quickly morphed over the last 72 hours into helping all sorts of clients and customers with applying for SBA relief. And my brother and partner, John.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm John. I'm the second co-founder at Proven CFO.
All right, Dave, let's start with you on these SBA loans. What are you hearing? What's the best way to apply for these? Who can apply? Give us the full rundown on these SBA loans.
Sure. We've got two different loans that are available, though. The first one is the EIDL program, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. Those are directly with the SBA. Okay. There was a lot of confusion that has happened since Friday when the CARES Act was implemented, but the EIDL program is still very similar to what it was before COVID. You make the application direct with the SBA, and then you go through their underwriting gauntlet. From what we understand, there's a lot of criteria that they have gotten rid of because of COVID-19, but some of that feedback still hasn't come back out of the SBA. The thing that significantly changed on Friday with the CARES Act is just in the very act of applying, you can qualify for a $10,000 grant, which if you qualify for the loan or you don't qualify for the loan can be basically free money. We have that website, that EIDL website came live on Sunday night. And people started applying, and we haven't heard of anyone who has yet gotten contacted back from the SBA. They indicated on their websites that there's a 3 to 5 day wait on their $10,000 grants. I'll let Jonathan talk more about the second program, which is the PPP program. And that's the one that really confused a lot of people when it was coming down on Friday. And that's been something that information has changed pretty rapidly over the last 72 hours.
Yeah, Jonathan, give us an update on that program.
Sure. So the PPP stands for Paycheck Protection Program. It falls under the SBA 7A program. For anybody that's ever gone through an SBA 7A, it is traditionally a very painful process. Usually you're looking at turn times of 45 to 90 days. This is not the case with this PPP. We have seen the application that came from the Treasury. It literally is a 4-pager. With most of the information being filled out on the first 2 pages. It is very payroll intensive. Essentially, the loan sizing is calculated by either the lesser of $10 million or your average monthly payroll for 2019 times 2.5. So whatever your one month of payroll, it's multiplied by 2.5. It's unique because there is no personal guarantee. There is no collateral requirements. The interest rate is going to be 0.5%, 0.5%, 2-year term, and then it has a full forgiveness component. Most of the forgiveness is very heavily tied to payroll. And when I read the intent of the money, it looks like the objective is to try and restore your full-time employee headcount and compensation to the levels that they were at as of February the 15th pre-COVID, and you have until June the 30th to make that happen. There's also a payment deferral for 6 months. So you don't have to make a payment until 6 months.
And as I understand it, all of this goes live tomorrow?
Friday, April the 3rd. April the
Okay.
3rd is when the floodgates open.
So April the 3rd. And obviously, you know, there's a lot of money here. We're talking about in the billions. What is it, like 359 billion or something?
Yeah, it's around 350 billion.
Yeah.
So
But you know, that's not, you know, with every small business, you know, applying for this, the sooner you get in there, the better, right?
that is correct. We even have warning from the Treasury that there's a funding cap, which we know. We know the amount that was approved. And you can imagine that there's going to be a lot of businesses lining up to go and make application for this.
So what's the best way to do it? I mean, is it to go through folks like Proven CFO to help through the process, go to your local bank? I mean, what's the best way to apply for these things?
So the advice that we would give the general public, if you own a business and you have a relationship with your bank, you should definitely talk to your banker. Find out if they are approved by the SBA to originate fund these PPP loans. Not every single bank is set up to do it. A lot of banks are going to be asking for approval from the SBA to do it. You definitely want to try and work with a banker that already has that relationship with the SBA and is approved and set up. Otherwise, you're going to be spending days, if not weeks, and then who knows what the availability is going to be if you waste that time. What Proven CFO does is we assist with the EIDL application, and as a courtesy, we will assist you with the PPP application. We do work with multiple banks that are PLP lenders with the SBA, which is the highest designation that the SBA gives a lender. The PLP designation stands for Preferred Lender Program. And that essentially means that they have delegated authority from the SBA to originate, underwrite, and fund the loan. So that would be our recommendation. Check on those certifications and see if your bank can help you. If not, give us a call.
And Andrew, Kiln did a webinar on this. Can you talk about that and where people can watch it?
Yeah, look, we most certainly did. We prepared that early this morning at around 10:30 today, preempting the fact that the goalposts have shifted on this topic repeatedly. There's a bit of confusion around the two different mechanisms that are available to companies. The fact that they should be applying in parallel for both. The question is whether if you approve for both, can you take both? And the question is, correct me if I'm wrong, John, I don't believe you can. And so our positioning really at Kiln is obviously, you know, we've got member companies that are somewhat unique in that they're venture backed. A lot of them, some are pre-revenue, some are, you know, product, they're in the growth phase as well. But just making sure that people are crystal clear on the realities that they face as they go down the path of preparing these loan applications. Loan applications. You pointed out very clearly at the start, Clint and John as well, that there is a finite amount of capital. And the critical thing to note is with these banking relationships that you have, a lot of these companies, Kiln included, bank with really reputable high street names. You know, some of the administer these loans. And I apologize, my internet connection is probably a little slow at times. And so that changes the game pretty dramatically. I think there's an intention for high street banks and, you know, the mainstream banks to participate, but it's not atypical that banks don't service SBA loans. Their type of client doesn't fit that category. And so they're trying to retrofit that capability into their existing operations. What that means, though, is that there could be a week or 2 or 3 weeks delay in processing applications for companies. So your existing banking relationship may not be a viable channel for you to apply. Now, taking that information, what we decided to do at Kiln was to explore, you know, Dave and John have been working on this for over 3-4 weeks when the news first broke. And so they've already submitted applications for over 60 or 70 companies to date. So they know what they're doing. They also partner with Kiln on the finance function. That aside, it's really about positioning member companies at the forefront of information, making sure that they're getting their applications in a complete fashion. And, you know, if you have a banking relationship, that's great. If you don't, and you don't have an existing advisor in place, then, you know, there's work that's been done to scale up the business and operations at Proven CFO. They've already done this 60 times over. It's a no-brainer. I mean, the fee attached to it is pittance compared to the amount of work that's gone into this. and the outcomes could be substantial for companies. So, you know, the likes of John, Dave, or anyone equivalent in any other company's advisory network that is set up to do this, I highly recommend going through the process with someone that's qualified to do it, just to avoid any missteps and make sure that the information is complete. The important thing is you get your place in the queue. That is critical.
Dave, what's the
Yeah.
one piece of advice you have for small business owners right now?
In terms of getting ready for the PPP, there's a whole bunch of bullet points that they need to actually get ready to go. As the floodgates open on Friday, that first one was making sure that you have the right banking relationship, but get all these bullet points up and running. That webinar that Andrew mentioned earlier is going to be available. We've put the bullet points attached to that webinar so that they're ready for that application. There are some criteria that's involved in that. That's making sure that you have all your documentation around your payroll for prior year and current year, your corporate governance documentation, tax returns, so that when you go and wait in line, you're not sent to the back of the line because you're not ready. That would be my number one piece of advice for small business owners, especially for the PPP. Any small business that's out there needs to be applying for this. Any and everyone.
Can I add something just quickly, Clint, as well? The focus on process, preparation, and information requirements for these EIDL loans and the PP loans. And so we're talking fairly high-level conceptual elements at the moment in this conversation, but we've dedicated close to an hour in going through a detailed Q&A and the things that companies must consider when they're doing both the applications and the benefits to the various facilities as well, and what funding can be used for. You know, PPP is different to EIDL in many respects. They serve a similar function, but PPP is dedicated towards, you know, the paycheck. It's eluded me at the moment. PPP, the expanded acronym. There are forgiveness components to that loan mechanism as well, which are really important for applicants to know how to allocate those funds, versus the EIDL is less restrictive in terms of its use and application. Pros and negatives to both.
And Andrew, can you let everyone know when that webinar will be available to the public?
Absolutely. So that will be, we'll share that first thing tomorrow morning. We're finalizing collateral. Out of courtesy to our member base, it will be going to our Kiln member base at about 3 o'clock shortly in the next probably 50 to 60 minutes. And then it will be released to the broader community at tomorrow morning. Look, there's a plethora of information that's available that's coming from multiple sources, pardon me. We're not saying we're any better than the rest, but I think the approach that's been taken really condenses that information down. The companies know what they need from a preparatory perspective versus just here's a bunch of resources and links, take a look at it. This is now preparing companies to move forward. So we can commit to having that out at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Once it's out, Silicon Slopes is happy to share it and push it through all of our channels as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure we'll be talking to you a lot over the next few days as this thing ramps up. Appreciate you coming on.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot,
Thanks
Clint.
for having us.
Appreciate it.